You're listening to Beyond Technique, the podcast that empowers photographers to bring their businesses to the next level. Hello and welcome to Beyond Technique, the podcast that empowers photographers to bring their businesses to the next level. Brought to you by Platypod, Photofocus, and Skip Cohen University. This is Shamira Young, and I'm joined by my co-host and brother from another mother, Skip Cohen.
Brother from another mother.
Couldn't be more true.
Oh my goodness, you've gone. I wasn't ready for that one, but they've all been classic. In fact, at this point now, with you and I having done, I don't know, we must be coming up on 80 podcasts all total.
Yes.
We're going to have to start to write these down.
Make t-shirts or something.
Hey, Shamira. And for all our listeners, I'm laughing because I do these, I get an idea in my head and I just yell out, hey, Shamira. Why? Because she's right here and I want to tell her something.
Hey, Skip.
Yeah, there it is. You and I have both been playing with platypods lately, and I'm kind of blown away by the fact that it gives me a totally different perspective. And last week, with help from Hilmar Smith, Platypod launched a very fun contest. The theme is Tight Spaces, and it actually started on October 7th, and it runs until November 7th. But it's very cool because the grand prize or first prize is just under $400 worth of gear. Both platypods, the multi-kit, the new goosenecks, and 2 Lytra torch cubes. So it's all in one package for the winner. And then there's some great second and third prizes too. But the fun of this is bringing out, to me, what's the best about Platypod, because it does give you a different angle. You are lower to the ground. You can put it in tight spaces. In fact, it's kind of fun because Hilmar shared one of her images, which is the Platypod inside the oven and a shot set up of her kids pulling the cookies out that are now burnt. And it's just fun, and it gives you a different perspective. And I know you're starting to play with it too.
Oh, it's fun. It's easy to set up, and it's compact where you can pretty much put it anywhere. So, I mean, it's very, very cool. And where can folks find out more information about entering the contest?
It's so easy. Just go to Instagram and put in Platypod Tripods, and that's their Instagram page. I also want to thank everybody that helped us move over the 10,000 follower mark.
Yes.
On the Instagram page. And when I say help us, Shamira and I are having a really good time working with the crew at Platypod. And you really do feel like, as sappy as this sounds, it's just, it's a family. So we wanted to see them go over the 10,000, and I think we called in all kinds of requests from friends. But more importantly, there's a lot of great images being shared on Instagram every day. And it's very cool to see what other photographers are doing. And again, just like the Tight Spaces theme, gives you a new perspective.
It's very inspiring. Very cool.
Hey, this is going to be a great show today.
I can't wait. This is going to be a fantastic interview.
So let's just cut the banter. I'm going to introduce our guest, and then let's just run with it.
Let's do it.
Because this is good stuff today. And for everybody out there, I mean, I want you to put on your hats right now and think about how much technology is always changing, because you keep up with it in terms of everything you use for capturing images. But in addition to that, it's changing in communication, especially when it comes to texting. And we've got Don Prentice with us today. He's the founder and CEO of phototexting.com. And Shamira and I have been working with Don for several months now. Mm-hmm. And essentially, we're just fascinated by how much a better understanding of texting technology can help photographers build a stronger business, expand their business, build stronger relationships, and there's nobody that knows this topic better than Don. So Don, if I didn't screw something up here, this is the cue for your lips to move. Welcome to Beyond Technique.
Well, thank you, Skip. By the way, great introduction. I'm not sure if we need to do the rest of this. That was good.
We're not letting you off the hook that easy.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Pleasure talking to both of you. And I'm looking forward to helping photographers understand sort of some of the opportunities that are out there for them. Because it's really a good time for photography and for marketing. It's actually easier right now, and the consumer's sort of ready for it, sort of primed for a better way to communicate. So I'm excited about getting started.
Don, we are so pumped to have you here on the show, especially because one of your missions is helping photographers grow their businesses, especially in this time where communication is essentially changing. I mean, the way we communicate with our clients, it's evolving, and photo texting is really helping photographers stay on top of that. So this is going to be a really juicy discussion, but before we jump into that, can you just very briefly tell us a bit about your background and how you ended up doing what you're doing today?
Oh, yeah. Well, I basically come from corporate world. I was always involved with sales and primarily focusing on the end consumer. That's always what I've dealt with. Worked for a couple of Fortune 500 companies, very corporate. But one of the consistent things about those companies is they always talked about following the consumer, understanding what the consumer wants. And I think that that's extremely important. A lot of times as photographers, we hear about ideas on ways to market and that magic bullet that's going to change our world. And quite often it doesn't really focus on what the end consumer needs. And I think that's really important. I started working with photographers way back in 2002. Seems like way back. I mean, it's been 18 years. Sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday. We started out as photo texting, helping photographers with their websites. And it's so funny because back then, there were photographers who challenged us that they even needed a website. So that was kind of interesting. Wow. But as websites started to develop, there were much easier ways for photographers to, grab a website for a few bucks a month. And we maneuvered, at the same time, we're sort of maneuvering into email campaigning. That was becoming extremely important on how to build a proper email campaign. We did a lot of that for photographers. At that time, we were doing it for about a couple thousand photographers and introducing them on proper email campaigning. That transitioned to social marketing, which seemed like a really good idea and still is a good idea, actually. But, recently, in the last few years, it's been a real challenge with social marketing because of some of the things that have happened with Facebook and so forth. Really hard to get your brand out there and consistently get out there. And it was a real challenge for photographers to understand how to turn a social follower or a like into an actual paying customer. That was always a challenge, still is a challenge, by the way. So that led to really where we are today. In the last 3 to 4 years, we've really concentrated on not just texting, Skip, but overall mobile marketing, how you would use your text marketing or texting as a communication tool along with mobile apps. And basically the reason for that, getting back to following the consumer, is that's where customers are. They're on their phones. Got to reach them where they're at. And that's sort of where we are today. And we've got a lot of new features today that we're hopefully we get to talk about later. And that's where we are now.
It's interesting because going back about, oh my God, it must be 20 years ago, there's a very well-known, primarily wedding photographer, but there's nothing he can't shoot, very well-known photographer in the industry by the name of Clay Blackmore. And I remember Clay being at one of the big conventions, and Clay was one of the early adopters of digital photography. And I remember him saying in front of a group of people, hey guys, this is the next big thing. And they all shook their heads. And in the same respect, when Scott Bourne founded Photo Focus, who's a partner in these projects with us now, Scott had the 104th or 106th website in the world at a time when all of us were saying, oh, I don't know, is the internet really going to stick around? And here we are now with mobile technology. And you're right. I talked about, using texting, and we think about texting all the time. But what you guys are offering absolutely is a collection of mobile solutions to help you raise the bar on how you communicate. And it is the next best thing. So it's not Clay saying it. It's all of us sitting here today saying it. Although Clay is probably, if we had him on the show, Clay'd be saying it too. I'd love to go into the things that have changed that's made texting and mobile technology so important today. Because those photographers that are out there, I don't think there's anybody anymore that honestly doesn't think they need a website. And we got through the questions about blogs, the difference being a website is about what you sell, your blog is about what's in your heart, and in all honesty, you need both. And now we move into another level of communication with everything in mobile technology. So why has it become so important today? What are the elements out there that photographers need to remember?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. This is really interesting over the years, and just seeing how how we've all changed and how we communicate, especially on the business side. In this particular case, at the end, it's because the consumers prefer it. It's actually the way that they're communicating today. We all do it this way. I mean, probably if you really sort of watched yourself throughout the day or paid attention, you probably text 100 times more than you write an email. It's just the way that we communicate, and that's a habit, and it's extremely hard to change a consumer's habit. It's almost impossible, actually. So it's an opportunity as well for photographers to dial into texting and add what I call business texting to the way that they communicate. It actually should be the primary way that they communicate. So number one, it's because consumers actually want it. It's kind of interesting. That also reminds me that one of the top questions I get asked when I'm out there, that I've been at trade shows and so forth, is, Don, I like to do that, but I'm kind of nervous about texting a consumer. And I wanted to clear that up because there's a misconception about that compared to sort of like emails, spamming and so forth, is that you really don't initiate a business text to the end consumer or a prospective buyer. They're either texting you or they're asking you for something from a text. So you don't have to feel nervous about that, Skip. It's what they prefer because they've initiated it. Just like if you were to go to a live chat, any live chat you've been on, and you ask a question, we've pretty much set it up the same way. So people are asking you for information. So not only are you not spamming them, you're actually giving them what they need. I hope that makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. Another reason is today's consumers are really busy. They do everything from their phone, right? We carry it around. We run into people while we're reading it. We just constantly have to have that phone. In fact, I get nervous if I don't know if how you guys have ever felt nervous when you lose your phone.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my God, the world's going to end. So, consumers are all the same. We're all the same. We do everything from our phones. So it just kind of makes sense that you communicate directly to that consumer's phone. Now, sort of the expectation now is, I don't know if you've ever felt this, consumers want everything now. I guess we all do. We want answers right now. In fact, kind of interesting, when I get a text, I feel like I have to answer that text right away. I don't know what it is, but that's just how it works. If I get an email, I can wait.
I'll take it a step further. Not only do we want to answer right away, but there's an incredible level of guilt when somebody texts you and you catch it the next day because your phone was off, because you decided to shut down for the day, or I just have my phone on silence and missed it. In fact, I think I've done that to you a few times where you texted me and I just missed it. So yeah, it just goes so far beyond in terms of our commitment to communicating.
That's why texting is important, because we're doing it in our everyday lives. It's not a business tactic. It just makes sense that you would communicate the same way that you communicate, in your everyday life. But there's a couple things that go along with that. And when you just kind of sort of touched on that, is that when a consumer texts you as a business, they expect a response quickly and promptly. Otherwise, they're going to get, that's what you're saying, Skip, they're going to be bothered. They're going to be unhappy. It's bad customer service. So it's a good thing that you're allowing consumers or potential buyers to contact you quickly, but you've got to be committed to answering that inquiry immediately.
Don, I just wanted to jump in very quickly and address something, and I love the way you all handle this. The fact that many photographers are frankly nervous about using their own personal phone number and putting it on their website, kind of that separation between their personal life and their business life. And one thing that you all do is you make it super easy to set up a toll-free number on their same phone. Could you kind of dive into why you decided to do that and how that works for the photographer?
That's a great question. And one of the biggest issues that photographers have is keeping their number private, as you're saying. And that's a big deal. Most photographers do not want to post their private number online. Mm-hmm. And even though some of them do it, it's not preferred. So yeah, we actually have the technology where we provide every photographer a free toll-free number, which allows consumers to text that number directly. Mm-hmm. Not only can they text that number, they can phone that number. They become sort of, I hate to say more professional, but more worldly, larger than just a local photographer. So I think it always helps to have a business number instead of your toll-free number. And thirdly, what's really new to business texting is they can actually text a question to your 800 number. Just a basic conversation, just a basic question about one of their services or anything they'd like to ask. And that's really important because, as you know, conversations turn into new business, right? You got to get that conversation. And consumers today, because of live chat and the world of live chat and the ability to contact a business without calling them is really, really a good thing, or it's sort of expected now. All the large companies are offering live chat at this point because they know they need to. Mm-hmm. And consumers, I read an interesting stat that almost 80% of consumers are not ready to call a business the first time they see their website. They just may not be ready to talk and want to feel pressured and so forth. So it's by having the opportunity for them to text you, it's a lot easier, right? It's a lot easier to ask a question. You don't feel obligated to anything, just like live chat, same idea. So the toll-free number has a dual purpose and also keeps your cell phone private.
Let's go the next step, because I know a lot of photographers sit there in fear of, oh my God, this is new technology. What do I need to know, and how much time is it going to take me to learn the process and set it up? Now, you introduced me to the system under the old dashboard. The new dashboard is everything is all at your fingertips. And I sort of feel like I'm a testimonial child for you guys, because I am the low-tech poster child of the photo industry. So it's sort of like, well, if Skip can do it, anybody can. Let's talk a little bit about your new senior rep program as one of the components, but then get into how easy it is to get it set up, and even alternatives for somebody that really doesn't want to set it up with your concierge service.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, let me probably approach this sort of in a slightly different order. I'd like to first sort of talk to you about what we focus on and how we focus on texting and apps to ultimately grow your business. That's what it's all about. And there's three fundamental things that need to happen, in our opinion. Then I can talk to you about how that sort of dovetails into the senior program and why it's important for the senior program. So, Skip, there are three things that we think are extremely important. One is you need to make it extremely easy for consumers to ask you questions or inquire about your services. And we do that by allowing them to text you from your website and all your social channels. So for instance, on your website or on any of your pages, it may say, have a question about my services, text me at this number. It's that simple. And that allows consumers, you're inviting them to ask questions. That's extremely important. It's also important and vital, I think, that a lot of photographers do not believe that they're getting enough visitors on their website. They're probably getting more than they think. The issue is they don't know what's happened once they get to the website. They have no idea what that consumer is doing. They're probably looking around. So it's important that you grab that consumer while they're looking at your site and encourage them to ask you a question that may stop them from continuing to shop to other photographers. Secondly, is we provide you with over, Skip, you mentioned over 20 mobile solutions or tools that are designed specifically to either get new leads or close customers faster. So we have a number of features that we can get into a little later if you'd like to, that help photographers close those conversations that they have faster. The other thing that's really important too with today's technology and apps and business texting is the ability to market your business 24/7 while you're sleeping. Have basically an automated system that allows somebody to ask you for something and they automatically get responders 24/7, and they're selling your company services all day long. Mm-hmm. And it's all automated. So that's a really, really cool feature that we try to implement into all of our features. So those are the three things we concentrate. Make it easy for people to get a hold of you, point them to what they need to make a decision, and make sure that your company is being marketed 24/7. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Makes total sense. I mean, this is all under the umbrella of how you define customer service. It's not, I mean, a lot of people think that, well, good customer service means you handle complaints. No, customer service starts with the very first impression that a consumer gets of who you are. And that's what I love about this so much, because it does reinforce the fact that the photographer really is put in a position of quick responses and really showing what they're made of, getting back quickly, answering questions quickly, and giving consumers more information so that they can close the sale or build or take the next step in the relationship.
Exactly. I mean, it's just a really, really important point that you're making. And it reminds me, we're all used to having email forms on our websites, right? It's necessary for all of our websites. You fill out a form, and that's how you contact a photographer. If you take anything away from our discussion is try not to make that the primary way that consumers ask a question. Mm. About 72% of consumers do not expect that they'll get a response. That's sort of old school these days. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have it on your website. I'm just recommending there's a better way. The primary way is to allow consumers to be able to ask you a question in real time and get an answer in real time. I actually think that if you allow somebody, or you just only allow them to fill out a form, you're really inviting them to shop around. Isn't that what we always do? I've filled those out before, and I kind of keep looking around while I'm waiting for that to be waiting for a response.
Oh yeah, it's like a black hole of nothingness. Yeah. Sometimes you don't hear anything back.
Right, and we wouldn't need this if they would just call us, but we know that just doesn't happen. It'd be nice if everybody called you just to check in when they went to your website, but that just doesn't happen. So. Right. Again, it's really important. Skip, you're making a great point that good customer service is about allowing people to get a hold, making it easy for people to get a hold of you, and more importantly, responding promptly.
It's the age-old band deodorant commercial of you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And then I think their other tagline was "Don't let them see you sweat," but it hasn't changed. And that's what I love about this. So let's go in any direction you want. I mean, there's so many applications here, and I brought up the senior rep program because I'm excited about it. But let's go into the next direction that you think ties all this together.
The features?
Go into some of the features, or Or that fear photographers have of what they have to understand to set it up?
Oh, yeah. It's extremely easy to do this. And once you've set yourself up, which really to sort of be ready to accept a text message and be able to respond back with something is extremely fast to set up and pretty darn easy. But the way we've set up the features or the solutions is that you can sort of pick which ones you want to use. They're all individual, inclusive. You can use them when needed. For instance, we have mobile offers. If you feel that you're getting an inquiry, somebody is asking a question about, I don't know, your senior portrait program, whatever service it is, you may want to shoot them over an offer to get them over the hump. Maybe you think it's necessary. We've got it set up so that you can respond to their inquiry, their question, and shoot them a link right to your mobile coupon or mobile offer. Now, what's really interesting, why do you need a mobile offer and not just text them and say, hey, if you book us today, we'll give you 40% off your shoot or something. What's really nice about the mobile offers is that there's all kinds of call to actions on that mobile offer. So once they open up that offer, they can share the coupons with any friends and family. They can share it to their social media. They can contact you with one touch. They can go right to your website if they feel like they need to go back to your website. So there's a lot of functionality. We also have a really nice reporting system behind the coupon program, or I call it coupon because it looks like a coupon, but a mobile offer program is that we actually have a reporting system behind it. So you'll know every single time somebody opens it, clicks on something, and kind of know where that consumer goes. Not only that, anytime somebody texts you for something, they automatically get added to a list. Automatically. So you have a tracking of who asked for a particular thing from you, and then you can respond back to that list with one nice little text blast. That's just one feature. We have a ton of them. One of the another top feature that a lot of people like to do is a contest. We have what's called a text to win contest. And this is really cool because you can assign what's called a keyword. Let's say you wanted to grab a bunch of leads or a bunch of prospects from your social media pages. You can run a contest on Facebook, for instance, and you can ask them to text a keyword like, my studio, whatever you want that word to be. People will join your contest, and they're automatically added to your contest list. And what's really cool about that is our feature, Text to Win feature, automatically picks the winner for you, and more importantly, sends a special offer or a special text message to the non-winners. Mm-hmm. So it's working for you, and it's always trying to build your business beyond the contests. Really popular with photographers, by the way, who like to run monthly contests on their social channels. So that's a pretty popular one. All these features that I'm bringing up are all individually used, and you can just pick and choose which one. You can use one of them, two of them, or all 20 of them if you'd like to. One popular one that's always coming up, by the way, is what to do about a price list. We have a special sort of little mobile page for that. And one of the questions I'm always asked is, I hate giving out my price list because every time I do that, I feel like they're just going out and shopping my pricing and probably even using my pricing to negotiate the price with another photographer. But reality is that, there is a point where you have to give them your pricing, right? So, what's the answer there? How do I give them pricing? Well, one of the things that we do is we've got your a pricing feature for your price list that requires that consumer to give you their contact information before the price list will be sent to their phones. So if you decide you want to be able to give that out, you're getting their contact information for an easy follow-up. That's a very popular feature that's very helpful. We have a referral app, extremely popular with photographers. Referrals are always popular, right? And we have this nifty little app that that you can send to consumers or inquiries or even any of your contacts, actually. And it's set up to reward. It has basically any type of a reward you want to add to it. Some photographers will use like a gift card or something like that, that anytime a friend refers your business, they can get a gift card as a reward. And that's all built in. It collects the information for you, and you're able to use that to get new business.
And I have to say, that is genius, by the way. I can't remember what the stat is, but people who have done business with you are far more likely to do business with you again and refer you to their friends and their family. And so that's a great way to just utilize your existing customer base.
Oh, that is so true, Shamira. I mean, and sometimes, it can be really hard to track that, right? It's really hard to post-market. I've got this client, they're really happy, had a wonderful experience, because that's really what they're going to remember. And, how do you take that and use that to get referrals in the future? It kind of leads me to another feature that we have that's really interesting, that sort of falls in the same area. And it's, how do you keep in touch with your clients and, get repeat business? How do you do that? And how do you do it easily without trying to keep track of this stuff and, get a hold of them and ask them to do something for you next year? We have a really cool system for a birthday club and anniversaries. So here's how this would work. Maybe you shoot a wedding, when they were married, you put them into your anniversary club, and automatically they'll receive communication from you every year. Every year they're going to receive a, happy anniversary message or a nice message. But also along with that can be an offer. You can attach an offer easily right into the system, and they can get an offer to come back. Maybe they've had a newborn, a new addition to their family, and that's all automated. You can do that for the next 20 or 30 years, that it would always send them automated a message to them. And that is really interesting, because it looks like to them, you just happen to remember their anniversary and you send them a message. It's really good relationship building. And of course, every time you do that, they're added to your list, and it's all automated. It takes literally about 30 seconds to set up for each of your clients, and you're done. They'll continue to get those messages. We found there's a lot of usage for that, by the way, for seniors in the senior portrait market, because, seniors at their age, 17 or 18 years old, they have sisters that are getting married. They have family that's interested. And when they have that particular time in their life where they're having their senior portraits done is a really, really important time. It's an exciting time for them. And if they have a really good experience, they're going to want to talk about you. So keeping yourself in front of them is really important. They have sisters that are going to get married, and brothers that are going to get married, and family portraits, and all kinds of wonderful things. So it's really important to keep in touch with clients, but more importantly, make it really easy. So I think we've done that.
This is all under that umbrella of relationship building. And I read a book years ago called Unmarketing by Scott Stratton. And the subtitle was Stop Marketing and Start Engaging. What I love about everything that you guys have built and the tools you've given photographers is that you've given everybody the ability to engage over and over again in so many different areas, each one of them under, we talked about 20 plus solutions that are there, but the reality is it's even more than that, depending on how you're using it and who your target audience is. And it is all about relationship building, and that's what's going to separate everybody from their competitors. It's not just your skill set when you've got a camera in your hands.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the senior rep program. We're really excited about this. We just launched this a few weeks ago, I think. And it was kind of interesting as we were building this out. And by the way, we have been building out these features over the last 3 years. So we've sort of tweaked them and tried to get them perfectly right to fit the photography market. These particular features we have are really built just for photographers. So we're really trying to make it, sort of just right to grow their business. And that's really what we're focused on, not just sort of, sometimes I feel like with social media, we're posting stuff to get likes and we want everybody to see our images, but does it really translate into a sale? Not always. That's sort of a little blurry. But, we looked at the senior rep and really the senior market in general, and we thought, why the heck aren't we using texting for seniors? I mean, if there's a group of people that appreciate technology and and texting more than anybody, it's seniors. It's that segment. Of course, millennials are sort of older, but man, the seniors are definitely welcome a better way of communicating. And as we were sort of looking at this, we also realized that photographers were doing a lot of things still manually. I mean, it was all manual. Literally filling out forms and spreadsheets to figure out what they needed their reps to do, for instance, and, how active were they? And it's kind of impossible, actually. It's kind of hard to track a rep, right? Yeah. Especially when they're handing out a manual image, some sort of a card that they're handing out. It's still okay, but it's hard to track that. So what we started to sort of look at was, okay, how can we take this senior rep program, tighten it up, apply texting and apps, and have a sort of a program that photographers could, one, save money, because they're not taking so much time to sort of manually track all this stuff. Actually, we have a number of photographers that are using an app instead of actually handing out a print. So they're saving money on the print because they're having their reps share an actual app of their images on the app. It's all digital. So it's sort of eliminating the need of paper handouts, which, by the way, wind up in the trash can sometime. I have to tell you, to expect my kids to bring home something to me it's
not going to happen.
Not at all.
It's not going to happen. What's really nice about this, one thing I really love about the system we have with the senior program is that the way that they hand those images off to another classmate, they're automatically captured onto a list for that particular rep. So you get to track that rep on how many times or who they shared that app with. So you're tracking every one of those, which is awesome. So you see the ones that are actually working well or participating, and then it leads into an easier way to have a sort of reward program for those reps that are successful. So it kind of comes together very nicely. So you get to hold the reps accountable in a nice way. And also we've got 4 really neat, easy ways, and I think this is one of the most important things, is how to share that app with actually the parents. How do we get the app to the parents? That's critical. And we have 4 easy ways for that to happen, where the actual classmate that's being shared to can easily share it with their parents, or there's a couple other ways for the parents to get it, because parents are the ones spending the money, right? We need to get it to the parents. So that's sort of the need that it's filled, is to sort of clean it up, make it much more tighter, and at the same time save the photographer money, and obviously to get them more business. And it's all in one nice tidy package that you receive. It includes 3 apps that you use, as well as all of the texting techniques that you would be using to sort of run the whole program.
What I love about this is that it answers that question. It addresses that pain point that so many photographers have of how do they grow their business. And then, as we all know, there are only so many hours in a day. And so for a photographer who is listening, especially with this new senior rep program, who has an existing program that is just too time consuming to stay on top of, or for one who's listening and maybe they haven't set one up yet because maybe it seemed too daunting. I love how you all make this virtually pain-free and easy to set up. I mean, it's talk about revolutionizing someone's photography business. This is very cool.
I'm telling you, the tagline is, if Skip can do it, anybody can.
Yeah, and it's, and you just, Shamira, you just kind of remind me of something. It's kind of hard. It's difficult to get a senior to sell it. They're inside sellers for you. That's the whole point of it. And sometimes it's difficult for a senior to be able to sell your business. It really is. To have that correct pitch or whatever you want them to talk about.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just sort of basically just hand them something. But what's really nice about our apps is that everything's in the app, and we minimize what that rep really needs to do. The main thing is to get their images to that classmate, and then everything's on that app. That app is an app that has all of your photography business stuff on it. You can have an offer on that app for the parent. Easy call to actions for the parent to get a hold of you to ask a question. Of course, they can text you from that app and so forth. So everything's pretty much on that app, so that it kind of limits what the senior rep needs to sort of do and sell. So I think that's important as well.
Absolutely. This entire conversation, I think, is going to be eye-opening for a lot of our listeners. And, talk about getting excited about the possibilities of how they could really bring their businesses up to the next level. And, Don, I hate to say it, but we are coming to the end of our interview time. It just flies by. It really does. And we've covered so many great points. I do want to make sure and ask, where can folks find you online to learn more about this?
Yeah, we're at phototexting.com. And everything is there. We have a special feature on our senior rep program that they can get to very easily. And I want to mention right now, we have 2 plans that they can pick from. But we have an amazing offer right now for our senior rep program that would include the senior rep program. So I encourage you to take a look at that. But you can learn everything you need. And also there's some contact information if you'd like to talk to us in person. We are available live, by the way, anytime. We use texting as well, so that we get that message any time of the day, 24/7. We answer text messages, believe it or not. So, that's where you would go, phototexting.com. And I think it's interesting. And one thing last thing I want to mention as well is that technology can be overwhelming sometimes, right? I mean, it could be, I need to learn this. We're here to help. We think it's extremely easy to get set up. And like I said, that you don't have to grab it all at one time. You don't have to learn a whole new system to do what we have. You can just pick one of the features you need and give it a shot, give it a try. We have a free program as well for you to test drive phototexting. And no credit card, just a free thing for you to go ahead and test drive it and give it a shot.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure to include that in the show notes as well. And Skip, I have to ask, where can folks find you to get in touch?
You always ask, and it's always the same answer. Everything I write is at skipcohenuniversity.com. My Twitter is Skip Cohen. That's for actually Skip Cohen University. And Facebook is Skip Cohen. And we always remind everybody listening that we want to hear back from you. If you've got some suggestions or requests or any challenges for that matter that tie in with a topic, my email is skip@mei500.com. And as always, Shamira, where are they going to find you?
Folks can send me an email at shamira@photofocus.com. That's my first name, CHAMIRA, at photofocus.com. And yes, we absolutely love getting questions, ideas, and feedback because it shapes how we move forward with this show. And with that said, Don, we want to thank you again. This has been an enlightening discussion. Very cool.
A lot of great content here.
Well, thank you, Shamir and Skip. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to anybody who has any questions. We're looking forward to helping you out with some sort of newer ways of marketing, and I really had a great time. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And we want to thank our listeners for joining us as well. Please tell your friends about this podcast, especially if they want to bring their photography business up to the next level. We look forward to having you with us next time on Beyond Technique, brought to you by Platypod, Photo Focus, and Skip Cohen University.